Welcome back, zombie enthusiast, to the Drunken Zombies Podcast, your daily fix of all things undead. I am Adrian, your host for this horrifying journey.
And I'm Julia, your zombie expert, here to break down all the brain-hungry action.
All right, folks, grab your brain cocktails because today's tale takes us to the depths of the ocean for a story that'll chill you to the bone. It's the ghost of the Titanic, where the terror of the deep sea meets the insatiable hunger of the undead.
Imagine a documentary crew exploring the legendary wreckage of the Titanic, only to find something far more terrifying than they bargained for.
So we've got this crew of experts, each drawn to the Titanic for their own reasons.
Right.
There's Alex, our ambitious filmmaker, hoping to capture the Titanic story in a new light.
Yeah.
Then there's Dr. Lena Morris, the brilliant marine biologist searching for undiscovered life in the depths. And of course, we can't forget Captain Mark Dawson, the steady hand at the helm of their submersible, the abyssal explorer.
They're on a mission to uncover untold stories, the secrets hidden within the Titanic's watery grave.
But as we all know, curiosity can sometimes lead to trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And in this case, it leads to a whole lot of zombie mayhem.
It all begins with a strange anomaly detected on their sonar.
Okay.
An uncharted section of the wreck, hiding something that wasn't on any of the blueprints. A sealed compartment just begging to be explored.
So of course they can't resist, right? The allure of the unknown is just too strong.
Exactly. It's like a siren's call. And what they find in this unexplored territory takes a decidedly gruesome turn. They uncover a mysterious canister hidden within the sealed compartment.
Now, this canister isn't just any ordinary container, right? It's like a Pandora's box of zombie horrors.
You could say that. It contains a dormant virus locked away for over a century.
And they just had to open it, didn't they?
Of course. They're a documentary crew, driven by curiosity and a thirst for knowledge.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, this particular thirst leads to a full-blown zombie outbreak.
But picture this. They're trapped in a submersible, miles underwater, with a rapidly spreading zombie virus. That's got to be one of the most claustrophobic nightmare scenarios imaginable.
Absolutely. They're not just fighting the infected, but also the crushing pressure of the ocean depths and the dwindling resources on board the submersible.
But from what I've gathered, they don't just try to fight the zombies head-on. They get really creative with their tactics, using the Titanic itself as a weapon.
What's fascinating here is their ingenuity. They realize the immense pressure at those depths could be their ally. At that depth, the force exerted by the water is enough to crush steel, so they figure it can definitely crush a zombie or two.
Yep.
They lure the infected into the deepest parts of the wreck where the pressure becomes their secret weapon.
That's incredible. Using the ocean itself as a zombie-crushing machine.
Yeah.
Talk about turning the tables on the undead. But it can't be that easy, right? There must be some serious challenges and setbacks along the way.
Oh, absolutely. It's a desperate fight for survival. They face dwindling oxygen supplies, system malfunctions, and the constant threat of being overwhelmed by the horde of infected. They have to make difficult choices, sacrifice for the greater good, and rely on their ingenuity and courage to outsmart the undead.
This sounds incredibly intense. So walk us through some of the key moments in this underwater battle. What are some of the biggest challenges they face, and how do they manage to overcome them?
One of the first hurdles is containment. They have to figure out how to separate the infected from the healthy crew members, which is no easy feat in the cramped quarters of a submersible. Imagine being trapped in a metal tube with people turning into zombies all around you. It's a chilling thought.
Definitely. So how do they even begin to isolate the infected in such a confined space?
They make use of every inch of the submersible sealing off sections, using whatever they can find to create barriers. It's a sign of their resourcefulness under extreme pressure.
That's some quick thinking. But zombies are notoriously difficult to kill. So what do they do with the infected once they're contained? Do they try to find a cure for the virus?
Initially, yes. Dr. Lena Morris, the marine biologist, is in a race against time to analyze the virus, hoping to find a weakness, an antidote, anything that could save her crewmates.
But they're stuck underwater with limited resources and a growing number of infected. It's a ticking time bomb.
Exactly. And that's when they realize that containment isn't enough. They need a more permanent solution, a way to eliminate the threat for good.
So that's where the idea of using the Titanic's depths as a weapon comes in, right?
Precisely. It's a high-risk plan, but they understand that the immense pressure at those depths could be their salvation. They decide to lure the infected into a watery graveyard, using the ocean itself to crush their undead foes.
It's like something out of a zombie action movie. But I imagine getting the zombies to follow them into the depths of the Titanic wasn't a walk in the park. How did they manage to pull that off?
It's a heart-stopping sequence of events. They use a combination of distraction noise and even light to manipulate the infected, drawing them deeper and deeper into the wreck. Imagine a deadly game of cat and mouse with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance.
Wow, that's intense. It must have been incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
But it can't all be about fighting the undead, right? They must also be dealing with the psychological strain of being trapped in such a terrifying situation. How do they cope with the fear, the isolation, the loss of their fellow crew members?
That's an important aspect of the story. They're battling their own inner demons as much as the external threats. Fear, paranoia, grief. These emotions are running high in the confined space of the submersible. They have to find ways to support each other to maintain hope in the face of overwhelming odds.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure. But this is just the beginning of their ordeal, right? There's still so much more to this underwater zombie nightmare.
Oh yes, we've only just scratched the surface of this chilling tale, so if you're ready to plunge deeper into Ghost of the Titanic, stay tuned for the next part of our episode.
All right, zombie fans, we'll be right back with more bone-chilling details from Ghost of the Titanic. So grab another brain cocktail and get ready for more undead action right here on the Drunken Zombies Podcast.
Welcome back to the Drunken Zombies Podcast, where the only thing scarier than running out of booze is running out of time when you're trapped underwater with a horde of the undead.
We're back, diving deeper into Ghost of the Titanic, where our crew is facing those impossible odds, fighting for their lives against a relentless zombie outbreak.
Last we left them, they had a risky plan to use the crushing depths of the Atlantic as a weapon against the infected, luring them into a watery grave.
But as we can guess, things don't always go according to plan.
Right?
They're dealing with equipment failures, dwindling resources, and that constant threat of being overwhelmed by the undead.
And just when they think they've gained some control, a major disaster strikes.
What happens? System failure. The virus mutates again. Give us the details.
Hold on tight, Adrian, because things are about to get really intense. During their attempt to lure the infected deeper into the wreck, the submersible is critically damaged by a sudden structural collapse. Imagine the scene: darkness, the groaning metal of the Titanic, and the relentless pounding of the infected, trying to get in.
That's the ultimate worst-case scenario. Trapped in a damaged submersible, surrounded by zombies miles beneath the surface. What do?
They're forced to abandon the submersible and seek refuge inside the Titanic itself. Remember, this isn't just any shipwreck. It's a labyrinth of corridors, cabins, and grand staircases, now a haunted playground for the undead.
So now they're playing a deadly game of hide-and-seek with zombies in the wreckage of the Titanic. This is giving me the chills. But they must have some kind of plan, right? They can't just wander around hoping to avoid becoming zombie chow.
Their main goal is to reach the emergency beacon, their only hope of signaling for rescue. But they're not just trying to survive, they're also trying to contain the outbreak, to prevent this nightmare from reaching the surface.
So they're fighting for their own survival and the fate of humanity all at once. Talk about pressure. But how do they navigate the Titanic? It's a massive ship, even in its ruined state. Do they have any maps or guidance?
Luckily, Dr. Lena Morris, our marine biologist expert, has an incredible knowledge of the Titanic's layout. She becomes their guide, leading them through the wreckage using her knowledge to avoid potential hazards and, of course, those zombie hordes.
She's like a human GPS for a zombie apocalypse underwater. Talk about a valuable asset. But what about Jamie, our tech expert? Surely her skills are useful here too.
Absolutely. Jamie uses her drones to scout ahead, giving them a much-needed view of their surroundings. Her drones become their eyes and ears, helping them anticipate danger and map out their route.
It's a real team effort, each crew member using their skills to survive. But they're not just facing physical challenges. There's also the mental and emotional strain of being hunted, the constant fear and the grief of losing friends to the virus.
You're right, the psychological toll is immense. They're watching their friends turn into monsters, making life-or-death decisions, constantly on edge, never knowing when the next attack will come.
That would break anyone. But they find a way to keep going. What's their secret? What keeps them from giving up hope?
It's the strength of the human spirit. They find strength in their shared purpose, their determination to survive, and the bonds they've formed in the face of adversity. And we can't forget the small victories, the moments of respite, the glimmers of hope that keep them going.
What kind of moments of hope? Give us an example of those glimmers of light in such darkness.
Well, there's the moment they finally reach the emergency beacon, a symbol of potential rescue. It's a reminder that they're not alone, that there's still a chance. And there are moments of camaraderie, of shared laughter, of human connection that help them stay sane in the midst of chaos.
It's those moments of humanity, of resilience that make this story so powerful. But we know the danger isn't over.
Yeah.
They still have to deal with the infected, and they're still trapped miles beneath the ocean surface. What happens next? Do they manage to activate the beacon? Does anyone come to their rescue?
Activating the beacon is just the first step. They still need to hold out until rescue arrives, which is no easy task when you're surrounded by zombies in a sinking shipwreck. And as we'll hear in the next part of our episode, the virus still has some surprises in store, and the crew's fight for survival is far from over.
That's a cliffhanger if I ever heard one. Our listeners are on the edge of their seats. Don't worry, folks. We'll be right back to reveal the shocking conclusion of Ghost of the Titanic, right here on the Drunken Zombies Podcast. So grab another brain cocktail and stay tuned for the final chapter. Welcome back, zombie fans, to the Drunken Zombies Podcast, where we're wrapping up our look at Ghost of the Titanic.
We've seen our crew face off against the undead in the depths of the Atlantic, use the Titanic itself as a weapon, and even send out a distress signal in a desperate bid for rescue.
But we all know zombie stories rarely have happy endings.
Right.
And this one is no different.
That's right. Activating the beacon was a risky move. It signaled for help. But it also attracted a new wave of infected, drawn to the signal like moths to a flame.
So just when they thought they might be safe, they get hit with another zombie attack. Talk about bad timing. Where did these new zombies come from? Were they hiding in another part of the wreck?
It seems the virus had spread further than they initially realized. Remember, they're dealing with an underwater environment where currents and the ship's structure could carry the virus to other areas.
So they're facing a fresh wave of infected, trapped in a sinking shipwreck with no immediate rescue in sight. That's like a zombie movie on steroids. How do they fight back at this point? They must be exhausted physically and mentally.
Their situation is about as dire as it gets, but they're not giving up. They've come too far and lost too much. They rally their remaining strength, using every bit of their ingenuity and courage to survive.
So what's the plan now? Do they try to hold out until rescue arrives? Do they make a desperate run for it and try to escape the wreck?
They realize they can't just sit and wait for rescue. They need to take control of the situation. And that's when they come up with a brilliant but incredibly risky idea. They decide to use the ocean itself, the very environment that's been both their enemy and their savior, as the ultimate weapon.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do they use the ocean as a weapon? Do they flood the rest of the Titanic, hoping to drown the zombies?
Exactly, Richard. Our historian remembers the Titanic's ballast systems, which are compartments designed to control the ship's buoyancy. He realizes that if they can breach the hull in the right places, they can flood specific sections of the ship, creating a watery tomb for the infected.
That's thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's not as easy as flipping a switch. They're working with a century-old shipwreck and probably have limited tools and resources.
It's a huge gamble, a last-ditch effort to survive. They have to work quickly and efficiently, using whatever they can find to breach the hull and control the flooding.
It's like a high-stakes underwater demolition job. But it sounds like their plan works. They managed to flood the sections of the Titanic where the infected are concentrated, using the ocean's pressure to crush them. It's a victory, but a bittersweet one. They survived, but at a huge cost.
Yeah, it's a victory marked by loss and the weight of the sacrifices they had to make. They've lost friends, colleagues, and they've had to confront their own mortality in ways they never could have imagined.
But they made it. They survived an underwater zombie apocalypse. In the wreckage of the Titanic. That's a story they'll be telling for the rest of their lives.
If they ever get back to the surface.
Right. Their experiences changed them, transformed them into survivors. They've stared into the abyss and come out stronger, more resilient, and more aware of the fragility of life and the strength of the human spirit.
Definitely.
And they've given us one hell of a story of courage, ingenuity, and the will to survive against all odds. So there you have it, folks. Ghost of the Titanic. A tale of zombie horror from the depths of the Atlantic. What are your final thoughts on this chilling adventure?
It really makes you think twice about deep-sea exploration, doesn't it?
You know what? I think I'll stick to swimming pools from now on.
Me too.
Yeah.
But hey, if you're thirsty for more spine-chilling zombie stories, be sure to rate and follow the Drunken Zombies Podcast. We got a fresh batch of undead adventures coming your way every day.
Until next time, stay curious and keep an eye out for those underwater zombies. You never know what's lurking beneath the surface.